live on Facebook. Good morning, Facebookers. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to see you. Let's do what we need to do, which was share this. We're having such an incredible time. I have just had the most amazing experience. You know that something's really good when you were involved in it, putting it together, and then you experienced it, and it was amazing. What am I talking about? I will reveal in a minute. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. What's happening to Facebook on here? Come on, Facebook. Facebook, come on. Facebook, Facebook. Good morning. Thank you for joining me. This is day 5. Day 5. I think Facebook might be having a little problem. I don't know about you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Facebook is not loading for me. Isn't that weird? This is weird. This is life. Very strange. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I love technology. Who loves technology? I love it. No, that page isn't loading, so I'm not able to share. Do me a favor, everyone. Share this broadcast with the wider world. Let's see who else can get on this morning. Let's see whose lives that we can share. We can change. I can't share it for some reason, but it doesn't matter. Good morning. Happy, beautiful day. Let's start off the day with a My 365. I've poured coffee down my coffee cup. Good morning. Good morning, Instagrammers. So this has been an incredibly important week. And the reason for that is because the quality of your life simply comes down to the quality of questions that you ask yourself. I must admit, just then in my head, I wasn't asking myself some very, very good questions because I want something to happen and I'm aware of the processes that go on inside my head. And this is the first step. As we summarize this week, how many of you have had a great week? How many of you have learned a lot? Questions, this is my summary of the week, by the way. Questions shape our whole life. And so much of thinking is to do with questioning. And when we're questioning, we are evaluating. And I want everyone to write this down, that your questions, what they are, is they are thought directors. So if someone makes a movie, right, the whole idea of the director is to direct what everyone else is doing. Does that make sense? When we have questions, we are directing our mind. And what I want all of you to start becoming more and more aware about is where your thoughts are taking you. Are they taking you into a good place? Are they taking you into an empowering place? When I say empowering, obviously what I mean by that is, are your questions giving you a good feeling? It's either a yes or a no, or are you feeling a sense of worry, guilt, sadness, anxiety? Many of us, the way we live our lives is absolutely fascinating to me. And so many people are unaware of how the questions they use, how they affect their lives. Because if you think about this, if you had a child and you asked the child, or looked at the child's watch, what time it is, the child's watch says now. So for a child, the now in life is so big. They are in the now. But for us, we've squeezed the now because for so many of us, we are in the past or we are in the future. There we are. We're in the present. And that's why it's called the present. So one of the things that we all really need to get good at is to be in the present moment. How do we do that? Ask better questions. So the first thing, let's just go back. Your thoughts, the quality of your life comes down to the quality of questions that you ask yourself. So please, if you want to be more successful in your life, happier, healthier, more confident, financially free, whatever it is, to have better relationships with people, it's not about making statements. It's more about the quality of the questions that you say. This is so profound, so uniquely important as well. I know I've got an issue with our Facebook page, and that's why I'm not able to share. But hey, these things happen. Some people, they'll find a way, right? This is one of the things that I believe where there is where it is there, where there is a will, there is a way. How many of you believe that? It's fascinating. It's definitely a slight issue with Facebook this morning, but I suppose that's what just happens. If you guys just bear with me for a second, I'm just going to try one more thing, because you never know. This is one of the things that I have learned through the success that I have to really ask great questions, and that's what coaches do. But ultimately, in us working with you, one of our most important goals is to help you start coaching yourself. Because if you can start to coach yourself, and this is what we'll look at in a moment, we will see that you really have an incredible opportunity just to change something so simple. I just think that so many people really struggle to accept that something so simple can be so profound. Here we go. I think I might have found a way to do this, or maybe not. No. Okay, let's carry on. So I want you to think about this. These are my notes. If you forgive me, I don't normally look at notes when I'm talking, but I want to look at this today because it's so important. I want you to think of this as a series of steps. So the quality of your life revolves around the questions that you ask yourself. You know that, right? Ask and you shall receive. So the great thing about the brain is if you ask yourself a question, the brain just goes and looks for an answer. But most of us, we ask ourselves really terrible questions. For example, why am I so unhealthy? Why am I so fat? Why am I so stupid? Well, if you ask a question like that, well, because you're stupid, because you eat too much, because you haven't got any willpower. So our thoughts direct us. So write that down. My thoughts are my directors. Where are my thoughts directing me? Are they directing me? If you're the actor in your life, right? If you're the actor in your life, right, and you're in your own film, this is the I. This is you. This is the actor in your life. This is the my, right? This is the part of you that is observing you, right? Okay, this is the part of you that will ask empowering questions. But as we know, we all have a little bit of a duck inside our head. This is the critic, right? So we need to really make our M as big as possible. The part of us that it observes, that's the part that wants to ask empowering questions. When you realize that you're asking yourself not in a good way, it's because you're being critical. Right? And the reason you're being critical is, well, you're just good at it. I believe that one of the reasons we're critical is that we have then the opportunity to realize that we don't have to do that. So I want you to start thinking about your thoughts. Where are they directing you? Are they directing you to an empowering place or to a disempowering place? It really is as simple as that. So if you want to change your thinking and change your evaluation, you've got to change the quality of the question that you ask yourself. So with that in mind, I think the biggest challenge I want you to think about is, I call it your focus, right? Your focus. What is more important than your focus? Where is your focus right now? Is it here? Your focus, your awareness. What we need to really get super, super good at is bringing our focus to the present moment. So what are you being, if you think about the quality of questions that you could start to ask yourself that could put you into the present moment. So a great one is, how am I feeling right now? How am I feeling right now? For me, this is the one I love the most. Now, what needs to be done? Now, what needs to be done? Ask yourself those questions. Now, what needs to be done? How do I feel right now? It's such a simple question. Now what needs to be done? You see, what happens is, for so many of us, when we go into the past in our minds and then we ask questions in the moment, those questions are often related to, and this is something I've been guilty of in the past, is feeling the feeling of guilt and anger and regret. When we're asking questions about the past, that's often what we can trigger in ourselves. And when we're worried, When we're worried, it's often because we're thinking about the future. So when we're feeling anger, when we're feeling regret, it's because in most cases, we're asking questions about the past. When we're feeling worried or anxious or frightened, it's because we're asking questions about the future. Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? How am I feeling right now? Just remember this, what we've done in life, this is why meditation is so important, is for children, the now is massive. The past is very small, the future is very small. What we've done is we've become older as we've squeezed the present moment, so most of us aren't really here. Now, I believe that the past is over, and that's great, you know. I'm not too bothered about the past. I can't even remember what I did yesterday. I am very concerned about where I'm going, right? And this is what we do as My365ers, is we start to set goals and say, this is because we are teleological beings. But most of our goals is to move away from something which has happened in the past, rather than say, you know what, this is where I'm going, and then get into the present moment of now what needs to be done. Now what needs to be done. So maybe you want financial freedom. Maybe you want to be slimmer, fitter, and healthier. Maybe you want to lose 28 pounds. Maybe you want to run a marathon. Okay, well, now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? And bringing our attention as best as we can to the moment. And that's why being in the present moment and practicing meditation, you can notice and you can observe when worry and fear and anxiety, they all come up. But the more you go back to focusing on your breath, you're allowing something to come up, and eventually it just doesn't come up, and there's some space to be here and work out what is wildly important to you right now. What is wildly important to you right now? Yesterday, we spent a whole day filming our next My365 Elite Masterclass, and it's on willpower. Leadership is coming out next month, how to be the leader in your life. But filming willpower was fascinating for me because the night before, I just didn't sleep. I didn't sleep a wink. Why? It was so hot, this house. The doors, everything was closed all day. So it was so hot. Now, the two massive things that affect willpower are lack of sleep and sugar. If you don't eat, your sugar levels drop. If you eat too much or drink too much, your sugar levels also go all over the place. Massively affects willpower. What is willpower? Willpower is your ability to get yourself to do the things that you need to do even when you don't feel like it. Now what needs to be done? 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 And this is one of the questions that we should all really be asking ourselves each and every single day. If you haven't listened to the podcast that we just did on willpower, get it out, get it out, listen to it. It's important. It's so important, this information, that you now what needs to be done. I believe that every day you need to go to work on yourself. Why? Because you'll feel better for it. You have a sense of achievement. Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? You need to listen. Now listen, as your coach, right? As your coach, how many of you right now say yes or no that you see me as a coach in your life? Maybe I am the coach in your life. Maybe you have a few. I have a coach, right? And if my coach asks me to do something and I don't do it, it's like, what's the point? What's the point? Right? So if you all see me as your coach, which you say you do, which is great, and I ask you to do something, you need to do it. Because the best way to learn, the best way, and this is what we need to think about, you moving forwards, do you want to be a critic? This is what the duck is more critical, taking you down a road that you don't want to go. But the M wants to learn. This is I want to learn about myself. I want to learn how to be better. I want to learn how I can create. This is the my in the my, right? And doing it for 365 days. So I ask all of you, what have you learned? What have you achieved? And what are you going to do with it this week? And to get that out there, whether you make it in a video, whether you write it down, but one day you're going to be able to look back and think, look how far I came. And it's the one thing that I ask people to do. This is the only thing I ask you guys to do, and write down a few things. But so many of you still don't do it, which is fine. If you have an issue with putting yourself in front of camera, then okay, that's an issue. Can you get over the issue? How do you get over the issue? Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? Forget about the past, forget about the future, be here now. Let's open up the present moment. Let's enjoy the present moment as much as we can. It's the only moment we have. Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done is you should reflect today or tomorrow. I wouldn't leave it too long. Reflect. This is, what have you learned? What have you achieved? That's why I have to do this. If I don't do this, I'm doing myself a disservice. How am I ever going to teach this again? Because the next time I teach this, I will teach it better. You see, the thing about me personally, I know I'm talking about myself here a little bit today, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. How many of you are getting better? I'm into betterment. Who's into betterment? Are you into betterment? Are you into betterment? Are you into betterment? Are you? Are you into being better? Are you into being better than you were yesterday? That's why we ask the question, how did you get better today? If you are into betterment, then stick with me because I'm getting better. So as I get better, you get better. I believe in you and I know what you need to do. I know what makes people successful in what they do. And this is a key word. Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done for me to be consistent? The consistency for so many of you, and it's okay, you can be hard on yourself or you could ask yourself a great question. So what are some great questions? You love that question by JFK, the President of the States. Don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Don't ask what your body can do for you. Thank you to Eddie McAvoy. Don't ask what your body can do for you. Ask what you can do for your body. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit harsh on some of you guys. It's just, I believe in you. I believe in you. I know what you're capable of. And it's amazing how our life can simply change by the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves. What have I learned today? Who am I committed to becoming? Who am I committed to becoming? What a great question. Who are you committed to becoming? And what can you do? What can you do about that right now? Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done about who I'm committed to becoming? I understand for many of you professionally, if people watch you, it's only people that can, in that private Facebook group, that can see those videos. But you know what? I believe every day. Who believes that every day they need to get uncomfortable, need to push and challenge themselves just a little bit? Thank you so much for showing up this week. For me, this has been one of the most powerful weeks. But I ask you to take some time. What have you learned this week? What have you achieved? And what are you going to do with it? Next week, we're going to start looking at the subject of procrastination, which for me is just hugely important because of all the things that we put off. And a lot of what we put off is down to the questions that we ask ourselves. So we will have the opportunity to go through this in a little bit more detail. I suppose what I would like to know from all of you, apart from what have you learned, what have you achieved, and what are you going to do with it, is where are we going? As a coach, as a community, where are we going? What are you working on? What's wildly important to you? Because what we want to try and do is help you guys. Here you are today, right? Help you. And you can dream big, and this is where you want to go. What we need to help you do is create what is known as dynamic tension, being pulled this way, being pulled towards whatever it is that you're working on, dynamic tension. Because what happens is, this is where procrastination comes in, that we ask ourselves, negative questions, which do the opposite. Can you not see how we all need dynamic tension in our life? I'm going to do a quick review of the week. Thank you very much, my friends on Instagram. We'll see you soon. A quick review. So, can you see the significance of what we're doing here and how important this all is? As much as I love to have fun, I know that this is some of the most valuable information anyone will ever share with you in your entire life, for you to be the very, very best that you can be. Here we go. You ready? Okay, this is it. Day 5 on the week on questions. Questions are the most important things we ever do. We ask ourselves questions all the time, but the reality is where are your questions taking you? Because questions are thought directors. Where are you directing yourself? Are you directing yourself away from your past? Are your thoughts taking you to a place where you're worried and anxious so that you ask questions that just bring that even more to the surface? Here's a great question. Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? Now what needs to be done? It's time for you to take your whole life to a whole new level by, first of all, increasing your awareness, becoming aware of how the questions you're asking are making you feel, and become obsessed with asking a better quality question rather than saying, I can't do this. So how could I do this? How could I learn to do this? It's time to take your life to a whole new level. Next week, join me as it's all about procrastination. Guys, have an amazing weekend. I look forward to seeing everyone's comments and learning from you. Be consistent. Take advantage of what Pete Cohen is offering you, which is coaching for free. It's there for you. Just do that one thing and commit to doing it every week. What have you learned? What have you achieved? And what are you going to, if you don't do it for you, do it for some other people here, or do it for some people who know you, who maybe don't even know what you're doing here, because they would be proud of you because you are doing something amazing. You're going to work on yourself. You're making yourself a better version of you. That is what My 365 is all about. We will see you soon. Much love to all. See you soon. Thanks for watching, guys.